was probably even more pronounced because he actually had situations where he was almost collapsing at press conferences and all that sort of stuff, which wasn't a real good look at the time.
Right.
He got over that, and you look at what he's become now. He's always had the game. Both of them have always been extremely talented players.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of actually putting that together with the fitness that's required now. These guys are playing 4 and 5 hours in slams, and some of them are required to play 2 or 3 of those in the space of the 7 matches that you've got to do to get through to win one of these tournaments. The other thing, too, is 2 words when it comes to Andy Murray: Ivan Lendl.
This is a good point.
Ivan Lendl.
I mean,
he was coached by the best coach there is in Tony Roach. And now he's obviously learned a hell of a lot from that, and now he's passing that on to Andy Murray. And you can't, you know yourself, Craig, as a coach, if you've got a young player out there who's maybe never played a grand final before or whatever, and you're out there at Metricon or at the Gabba and you're playing Morningside or whatever in a grand final, and you need to calm this kid down, someone like you can come along and do that because you've been there and done that. Same thing with Lendl and Murray.
Yeah, well, it's something Jim Courier talked about in the call a bit last night. Exactly that he's passed on that confidence to him. That you've won one now, and it's it. I feel that tennis is probably could be the most emotional sort of game for an individual, emotionally intense game, because you're essentially like those two were in isolation for 4 hours last night, and it's totally one-on-one mental in this game. So as much as like the fitness is huge as well, but the mental, knowing you can do it in the toughest situations is what makes the difference between the good players and the great players. You're listening to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley and Darren Madigan taking you through the Australian Open at 22 minutes past 8. If you want to get in contact with the show, send us a text message on 0429 506 704. That's 0429 506 704. We had a text last week, but I unfortunately missed it. The phone was on silent instead of vibrate, but it was from Andy talking about the cricket. So, Andy, we didn't ignore you. We just missed it. We will talk about your point when we get to the cricket a little later in this hour. Guys, let's now move the focus to the final. These two, Novak Djokovic, Andy Murray, they came out with an absolute classic at the US Open last year, 5-hour, 5-setter. Can we expect the same? I think we should expect the same because they're both two brilliant players, but Novak Djokovic has got to have the advantage, an extra day's rest, and he really destroyed David Ferrer the other night in his semi-final. He'll be rested up, whereas Murray, a day less rest and a 5-setter against Roger Federer.
I just think, Darren, I just think in this situation, it's obviously there's a bit of a changing of the guard, probably to a certain extent, which we can see. And these are the two up and coming. Obviously, Nadal's had an injury problem, which has pulled him back quite a bit. But I just think Djokovic in this situation seems to be that probably year or two in front of the status, on how his mental build-up, the amount of slams that he's won, and just the experience, I suppose, is going to hold him in good stead. In saying that, you're right, Kev, it's going to be a tremendous match, and it's I don't think Andy Murray will leave anything on the table.
No, he definitely won't. Before we go to you on that point, Darren, I just want to make the point that this is the first time since 2003 that they've gone consecutive Grand Slam finals without Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal. First time in 10 years that neither of them have been in a final. That's an amazing stat.
Testament to them, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It certainly is, and it's also a testament to Andy Murray and Novak Djokovic. Like you say, Craig, perhaps the torch has been passed on to those guys now. They're the top guys.
Well, I think when you take a look at, I had my little predictions in my head last night about Roger and what he's going to do, and I still believe that and I'm not sure when the Olympics, what time of the year the Olympics will be played in Brazil, in 2016, but I think that's when you will find he'll probably go through that season and probably retire at the end of year tournament in London by then, because he wants that gold medal. He's 31 years of age.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, especially when he's still number 2 in the world. I think at the moment, the way things are looking, what we've seen so far, if you want to try and break it down a little bit, we take a look at what happened with Stan Wawrinka and Djokovic earlier in the tournament.
Yes.
Wawrinka came out for the first set and absolutely blew Djokovic away, but Djokovic weathered the storm.
Yeah.
The question is, for me, whether Murray can weather that sort of storm as well. I think at the moment I'm erring on Djokovic in 4 sets.
Yeah, I think, look, that's a safe bet, I'd say. The thing is, which you cannot take away from Murray, is he's got a lot to win out of it.
Yeah.
A lot to win. And not much to lose. Everyone's probably saying, well, what a great... If he loses it, just say hypothetically, they're going to say, yeah, but geez, his game against Federer was they'll remember
they're
this
still
more
going to
than
be
the final.
talking about the rise of Andy Murray
Yeah, exactly.
in consecutive Grand Slam finals for the first time. That's still going to be the story whether he wins or loses. Novak Djokovic, on the other hand, going for his third consecutive Australian Open title. That would be an
amazing,
unbelievable achievement. Would be his fourth overall. He just loves playing here in Australia, Novak Djokovic, and I think a point that I want to make here is something we saw through the week. I know Wawrinka pushed Djokovic to 5 sets and Tsonga pushed Federer to 5 sets, but there is a real stranglehold at the very top of the men's tennis game, those top 4 players. The top 4, of course, of Djokovic, Federer, Murray and Rafa Nadal when he's fit. Those guys, in the big games when it matters most, have dominated this sport more than any other sport I can think of. These guys have dominated for a really long time. How do those guys on the fringes, guys like Tsonga, Ferrer and Wawrinka or whatever, how do these guys break into that top group and start winning slams and start pulling the attention away from these top guys? Because they're so far ahead.
I can tell you now, Ferrer's going to do that pretty much very soon, given that he's only 95 ranking points below Nadal.
Well, we can bear in mind Nadal is hurt. When Nadal comes back,
Look, look. At the moment, I still believe the men's game is incredibly deep. I think we can sit there and say the top 4 have been like this, but the top 3 or 4 players in the world always have a big gap in their ranking points. Have done ever since the current ranking system came in. If you look at the top 10 players in the world, they're still all capable of beating one another on any given day. And if you want to stretch that out, you can probably go to the top 30 or 40 players in the world on a good day.
I'll argue that point there, Darren. I think any given day that isn't a Grand Slam big event, I say on the big event
played each year. But the rest of the time, these guys are going from January through to November. Right? And they're playing every fortnight.
Yeah.
So, it is a tour that they're playing. These guys have got to be consistent year in, year out. And with the way the rankings point is with the rolling 52-week system, which I think is inherently unfair, I think they need to go towards the golf system, frankly, but that's another time for another day. I really do think that the game is deeper than people are giving a lot of these guys credit for at the moment. And there's a lot of very, very good players sitting there from about 7 through to 25 in the world, who are just an absolute joy to watch on their day. They really are. So, look, you're going to have Federer, Djokovic, Nadal and Murray and that at the top on a regular basis in the slams. But I think you need to keep an eye out every week or so what's happening on tour. And when you look at that, you see that there's a lot that goes on in the course of a year. There's a lot more consistency than you realise.
I think that's a fair point for the fan that follows tennis real closely. But to the average person, they only pay attention to the slams. They're the big ones. They're the big money matches. They're the big attention grabbers. And those 4 guys step up every single time, and the other guys can't go with it. Djokovic, you say Ferrer's right there with him. Djokovic spanked Ferrer 6-2, 6-2, 6-1.
And that's the thing, Darren. Like, as you know, and you've been involved in the sport as much as and you see it in a lot of football games, whether it be NRLs or Australian rules footy. How often does that lower side beat a top side, basically from complacency?
Right.
These guys, but they would never match them when these sides play off in a grand final. The reason being, when they're like these guys are 100% with their mental application on the big games, the ones they have to win, the money points. And the thing is, at any given time when they're going into a lesser tournament, which probably doesn't hold as much to them as what it does for the other people who are playing a Djokovic or a Federer, they'll come up to it because they still want to beat that player, whereas Djokovic or, one of the top 4, they get a little, I wouldn't say complacent, but it's not the one for them. It's not what they're stressing for. And, their mind might not be on the game, whereas the other guys are still pushing to beat that player. So their mental application is going to be high, whereas the other guys are going to fall away a bit.
Yeah, we've got to go to a break, guys. But quickly before we do, just want to make a point with Roger Federer. That was his 10th consecutive Australian Open semi-final, and I think that speaks volumes to the point we're making. When the big games come around, these guys perform, and that's freakish.
That's
10 consecutive Australian Open semi-finals. Darren, you're tipping Novak Djokovic in 4, is that right?
Yeah, Djokovic in 4.
What about you, Craig?
I reckon it'll be a 5-setter.
Yeah.
I think it deserves to be a 5-setter.
Yeah, I think 5 sets as well. I'm tipping Djokovic in 5 sets.
Oh,
I think it'll be another classic. It'll be great. We've had a few classics the last few years.
Yeah.
Djokovic and Nadal last year, Federer and Nadal a couple of years before that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be great. There's very few things more emotional, intense in sport than a 5th set in tennis. It's a great thing. We'll go to a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the women's side of the draw.
Hey, Mike, what you got planned for the weekend?
Oh, we're thinking about maybe taking the kids down the beach for Australia Day, bit of sand, sun and surf, mate.
Oh, mate, I'll be giving that a miss. The Greenbank RSL have got a great Australia Day activities going on for all of the family. Kids entertainment, jumping castle, wow balls, baby animal farm in the Memorial Gardens, so much more. Fairy floss, Vegemite sandwiches.
Oh, Vegemite sandwiches, I'll be there, mate. Veggie sandwiches.
No, not for you. This is for the kids. There'll be pie, sausage rolls. But what's a super duper?
I wouldn't have a clue, mate. The kids will know.
The kids are going to get them. All that's happening in the Memorial Gardens for the kids, for the grown-ups, right through the day and the night. There'll be the Soul of Us Down Under Cafe, dueling piano, Starlight Lounge, a great DJ in the Starlight Lounge as well. And downstairs in the sports bar, the Bundy Girls will be there.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know if I'd be allowed to go if there's Bundy Girls.
Well, just don't tell the wife. Actually, I was just thinking, I'm logged in to do Saturday Night Party Mix at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
So, would you mind...
I can see what's coming. No.
Would you like to do that? I'd like to go and see the Bundy Girls at the Greenbank RSL Australia Day activities all day.
I'm sure you would.
It'd be good for my heart.
It would. I tell you what, why don't you ask Athol Cowan if he'll do Party Mix Saturday night and we can both go.
Now, there's a thought.
Girls.
Greenbank RSL, great Australia Day activities all day. Great stuff for the kids with the jumping castles. All of that in the Memorial Gardens. Activities for the adults right through till the wee hours of the next morning.
Sounds great.
That's at our sponsor, the Greenbank RSL, Anzac Avenue, Logan West, 3800 7746 for more information.
Sounds great, mate.
See you there. Thanks, Athol.
Youth activities are a large part of the Lions Club's programs. For more than 30 years, the Lions Youth of the Year Quest has encouraged student interest in leadership and the qualities required for active and constructive participation in the community. Under the auspices of Lions, Leo clubs give young people leadership, experience, opportunity and fellowship through involvement in community service. For more information on these programs, visit lionsclubs.org.au.
You decide to shave for the Leukemia Foundation's World's Greatest Shave. Your new look makes you brave. Brave enough to rescue a kitten. Your deed attracts media attention, which leads to your chin appearing on posters. Lots of posters. Seen from space-size posters. Hollywood types cast you in their next remake. You win a Chin Academy Award, release a man scent, and have your chin immortalized on a commemorative mug. Boom! You're the man. Shaving might change your life, but it will change the lives of people with blood cancer. Be brave and shave. Sign up now at worldsgreatestshave.com.
Do you have a street light that's not functioning correctly outside your property? Perhaps you've noticed a floodlight over a zebra crossing that's not operating. Well, Energex would like you to report it to them by calling 13 12 53 or completing an online form for faulty streetlights on their website at energex.com.au. Remember also that the council has to pay the running cost of all the streetlights, whether they're working or not. So let's get the most for our rateable dollar by reporting the streetlights not functioning to Energex on 13 12 53 or on their website energex.com.au.
Your city, your station, 101 FM.
You're listening to Saturday Sports Scene on the voice of Logan City, 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's 34 minutes past 8. Got Kevin Brasher here, Craig Crowley and Darren Madigan. We're taking you through the Australian Open. Before we move on to the women's final being played tonight between Victoria Azarenka and Lee Na, this should be an absolute cracker. We'll talk the women's doubles final. A lot of press around the fact that Ash Barty and Casey Delacroix went all the way to the final. Unfortunately, they did go down to the world number ones of Irani and Vinci, 6-2, 3-6. 6-2, but to my thinking, I watched this whole game, and Darren, I'm sure you saw parts of it at least too. Ash Barty, to me, was the real shining light in that. At just 16, she's a real star in the making, I think. She's got a lot of talent.
She has, and she's got a sensational attitude toward things too. She's going to spend her winnings on Richmond merchandise. So she won me over as soon as she started saying things like that, I've got to tell you.
Wouldn't be a lot, though, would there?
Hey, we need the money. But the girl from Ipswich, it's a great effort just to get through to the final. Those two girls, we've known Casey for a lot of years because she was on the show a few times, and she was one of the few girls in the Australian spotlight before Sam really started to hit her straps. that would come out and try different things like serve and volley when everybody else was on the baseline and all that sort of stuff. She'd do things, and then she just got hit with all these terrible injuries. So it's really nice to see her coming through. Ash Barty, you hit the nail on the head, mate. 16 years of age.